Babble with Ben.
This podcast is recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation. I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be participating today. Welcome to the Babble, Chrissie Hall. Long time coming.
Yeah, thank
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been someone who I've known for 20 years, right? And of course has been someone I've wanted on the podcast, I think, since its very start. And it's finally happened. We've finally managed to be in the same place at the same time. Had a little bit of car problems, I think, on the way in. We'll go into detail with that. But you flew in yesterday from Sydney, didn't you?
I did. The flight was great. It was delayed.
Oh, yeah? How much by?
Maybe 30 minutes. But it was like a big plane. Like I felt like that I was going to Europe. It was a massive plane. And then when I got on it, because normally I don't like flying and I kind of freak out. But in the bigger planes, they don't feel as much turbulence. So I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to chill. I saw a Mick Jagger documentary.
Oh, yeah.
And that was fascinating. God, he was good looking.
Yeah,
When he was young.
Household name.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. It spoke about obviously his career and how he, started off, I guess, at 17 being so young as a performer and how all these people taught him how to perform and engage with the audience. But he had such good people teaching him at the time. And it was just fascinating in him just talking about his life because he's a rock and roll star.
Do you remember what the name of the doco was?
No, it was just something like the Rolling Stones, on Qantas Play or something.
I think I saw one about their drummer just recently. Yeah, there was a series of all the Stones. I think Keith had his own episode. I think Mick had his own one. Yeah. I will Google it and I'll put it up on the comments somewhere.
Yes, that's what it was, and it was great. And obviously I only had time for, Mick Jagger because it was the first one because it's only now a flight. But it was just fascinating. I love watching documentaries on rock stars. It's just a whole different world. It's amazing. You're an artist, you're a performer, people adore you. But then obviously you got the bad side as well. And it's how, I guess, you survive doing something you love.
Exactly. Now you're down here doing something you love, yeah? You've come down to Melbourne to do a little bit of work with, who are you doing some work with?
So I'm meeting up with a really good friend of mine, Angie Taylor.
Yes.
And we had a show in 2025 called 3.99 Hertz.
2025?
No, oh my God, 2015. Okay, 2015 we had a show called 3.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 3.99 Hertz, and that was about how, I guess, what you see while you're dreaming, what your brain visualizes on different brain waves. So it was quite a really cool show, quite visual. And anyway, I was just chatting with Angie the other day and I'm like, I'm coming to Melbourne. Why don't we, I don't know, let's have another show, but we'll do it for 2025. So I've come down and I'm going to talk to Angie about that. And I'm also going to be seeing the Alexander McQueen show.
Yep.
And that's going to be mind-blowing. So he was an artist that mixed the fashion and the art together. And his shows were pure art. And I don't think you see that anymore in fashion. They were very gothic and dark, but yet beautiful and soft at the same time. And I guess it was more like wearable art, which, some people do, obviously. But he's just beautiful, just the detail and the depth that he went to with his art and, his fashion. His fashion was his art. It was just beautiful. So he's long gone now. He died in 2010.
Was it that long ago? I remember the fashion world was, really distraught at the loss of Alexander McQueen. I didn't realise it was that long ago now, though.
And so now, because at the time I was living in the UK, I guess I was around that vibe, but obviously I never saw his shows. But now I get to see it. So I'm super excited. So it'll be very inspirational. And who knows, it could come up in my work. But his work is quite dark. My work is very colourful. So.
And for the people that haven't met you before, you are a photographer, aren't you?
Yes, I'm a photographer, filmmaker. And I love colour, as you can probably tell. In my beautiful power
No,
fashion dress?
no one. No, I don't think I've ever seen you wear. Oh, maybe I've seen you wear a black T-shirt once or twice.
Oh, look,
It's
when
not
I'm
your
working,
style.
when I'm working, I wear black. But when I'm not, I'm just all fabulous in colour.
Absolutely. And we met. Oh gosh, how long have we known each other for now?
20 years.
Yeah, 23.
Oh my God, 23. But I'm actually 22, so.
Are you? Oh, so we met 2 years before you were born.
Exactly.
I'm sure they'll believe that one. Yeah.
Hey, my gran, she's 21.
Yes, yeah.
And I believed that for a very long time. I'm like, Mum, why is Gran younger than you?
And Mum says, oh, if you have to ask, you'll never know.
And no one told me. And so Gran was just always 21. And so I'm just 22.
Yep. No, I've got the grey hairs to prove it at the moment. I'm feeling... Oh, but then again, I've decided to hide my age a little bit with some bangs because all the cool kids were doing it. So
Well, you look fabulous.
Thank you. I got my hair cut yesterday, so I thought, oh yeah, better look good for Chrissie's podcast.
Yeah. No, you look hot.
Thank you. And so you've got a couple of projects that are coming out this year as well, hey?
Yeah, so I'm launching my book next year, 2024.
Yep.
And it's been, I guess, I've been shooting this model called Charlie Brown, and we've been shooting for about 12 years now. And during that time, she's been many different characters. So the book is about, I guess, her Hollywood journey. And so, yeah, it's coming out in 2024. I'm not going to release the name yet because it's not 100%.
Oh, it's still under wraps, yep.
But no, I just got a space. And I'm very excited. So it's actually happening. I have a deadline. Because if I don't have a deadline, projects just keep going.
I'm the same. I need a deadline, otherwise the adrenaline never kicks in and it never gets done.
Yeah. Because what I did was I applied for a couple of spaces just so I got that deadline. And one of them got back to me and they're like, yep, next year in February, 27th of Feb, that's when your show's on. And then when I found that out, I'm like, oh my God, I actually have to get this done now. It's been 12 years and now the pressure's on. But it's been a really fun project. So I've been experimenting a lot with, I guess, textures. So I'd photograph the image and actually no. So like, I guess like textures as in like, I put, I guess say like paint on the image. So I print the image, I paint it, I reshoot it, or I might put roses on it and I reshoot it, or cut the photos up, do a bit of a collage. Like I'm experimenting more with, I guess, the art side of photography in a way, but like the physical art side. Because you can do stuff on Photoshop.
Yes.
But when you start to actually print it out and play with it, it makes it feel like art. And that's what's been really fun about it. Because I'm looking at images that are about, 10 years old. And to me, that's boring. I've seen them to death, but to other people haven't. But now that I've started to play with them and experiment with them, it's making it all fun again and exciting. So that's why, I'm all excited about this project and like I'm sticking to it. Because normally when I work, I have all these multiple projects happening, but then nothing's getting done. And so now I'm like, nah, I'm sticking to this. I have to get this done. And when it gets done, it's just going to be amazing. So like each book is going to be like an individual artwork. It's just going to be really exciting. This whole journey of, I guess, going into this crazy, colourful Hollywood, Australian sort of theme.
And it's really that rebuttal against, this modern age of digital filters as well. Because from what I'm gathering you're talking about, you are sort of doing a collage in a physical way, like maybe you would have seen in the 80s and the 90s where, before Photoshop, if you wanted to have special effects, you'd actually have to get there with your scissors and cut it out and recontextualise it yourself. And then rephotograph it, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Like obviously some images I leave alone because that's just part of the story. They don't need to be played with. But then some of them, I play with them because like I said, they're boring to me.
Yeah.
But to anyone else, they're fabulous. But to me, it's just like, it needs something else.
Well, you are the artist. That is your privilege as the artist.
Exactly. So that's a really cool project coming. So I'm really, 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 really excited about that. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll make sure that you're linked on your Instagram to this video, so that should be where people can keep an eye on it. Because it has been a little while since you've put out a book. I mean, you and I kind of collaborated on a book. I was in it, maybe. I think you were I was very much the subject, and you were the driving force behind it. But when was it? About 13 years ago. We did I was in some of the photos for your book of a journey from Sydney to country New South Wales for a festival. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was released in 2011. And now it's time to release this one.
Yeah.
But obviously in between that time, I was doing music videos. I was working on, I guess, my business, doing advertising, fashion.
You had 2 children?
I had 2 little kitties.
That takes some time.
And then obviously COVID, which was, all fun and games there.
Yes. It's funny because here we are in more or less April 2023, and it sort of looks normal, but it doesn't quite feel normal again for me, I find. Like, people are still like, like when you cough on the tram or something like that, people are still like, oh, God, what's happening here,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really getting that anymore now.
Yeah?
Maybe in Sydney it's more chilled out. But then, I live near the beach, so everything's always chilled out there. But, yeah, it was a very interesting time. A very creative time, very full-on time, because obviously, I had a baby.
Yeah, you'd only just given birth, I think, or you gave birth at the start of a lockdown, yeah.
So the first lockdown, I finished a couple of personal projects, and then obviously when it happened, I lost all my work, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm having a baby, who cares?
Yeah.
So I finished the projects, and then I guess got ready for the baby. So I had the baby in lockdown, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, I bet. Can you tell us more about what happened, your experience of having a baby in lockdown?
Well, it was really cool because with my first baby, I wanted to paint in the labour. So I got the paints all ready to go, and then I got my finger out and I did like a little whoosh. And then I'm like, nah, that's it. No.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The contractions, I didn't know what was happening. It was just too crazy. But then with this one, with Zali, I really committed to painting in my birth. So obviously it was locked down. You could only bring one person in with you. My husband came, which was awesome. Great support. And I had all these beautiful, affirmations, which I had with my first daughter. And, I had stuff like, I'm empowered, it's only a muscle, the reward is my baby. And every time I got a contraction, I would look at, all those little affirmations that I drew. But then what was cool, I had all my paints laid out. I'd have a contraction, I'd be like, and then put my hands in the paint and go, and then just paint on the canvas. So it was really quite cool. So I got to paint 4 canvases in my birth.
Wow.
With Zali. So that was amazing.
Yeah, you knew what you were up for this time round, hey? Wasn't quite the unknown.
Yes. And it was good because, I wanted to have a little art baby. So she's my little art baby. Well, my babies are both art babies. But, so that was quite cool. But obviously, when you have a baby, you don't really go out much. So the first lockdown was quite cool because I had the baby in lockdown and I just stayed at home and, went for a walk here and there, and it was fine.
And you didn't have an epidural when you gave birth, did you?
No, both my babies were full natural.
I can't even imagine. From what I've heard, that would be quite the experience.
It was. But my births were very empowered. I felt really good after. I worked a lot on my mental state. So I worked on a lot of those affirmations. I just really worked hard on that. Obviously, you got to work on your body as well. But I remember when I gave birth with Alaska, my first one, the midwife was like, it's 70% in your mind and 30% physical.
Really? Yeah.
And that's when I gave birth to Alaska, and I'm like, oh my God, if it's 30% physical, whoa, your mind has to be super, super strong because physically it's so full on. It's like you get to a stage in the labour where something just takes hold of you
I can imagine, yeah.
And you just have no control. And then all of a sudden the midwife's like, oh, we can see something, come over here. And then you're just like, oh my God, And it's so crazy. But it's, painting through that experience really helped with the pain.
Yeah, I can see where that comes in. Yeah. Because I guess, you would need to get out of your own head a little bit if you're going through such an intense experience, hey?
You get to a point where you're not even in your head.
Yeah.
Your body takes over. And, some people scream, some people don't. I was screaming my lungs out because that's how I could handle the pain.
Yeah.
Because it builds up, and then it comes down. But then all of a sudden it builds up, down, and it's just full on. It's very animalistic. That's how I would describe it.
How long was the labour?
Okay, my first one, Alaska, she was about 6 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
And Zali was 15.
Wow, twice as long.
Because everyone said to me, the second one is always quicker. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, where are you? You should be here now. So.
Worth it in the end, though. There the two little bubs are. I saw, when did I see you last? I think I saw you last when I was coming up for Blues Fest in Byron Bay with Chris Harris. And I think that's the last time I saw you. We talk a lot on the phone, but I don't think I've seen you in person since about a year ago. And so I can imagine Zali's twice as big now, and Alaska just keeps on getting smarter every time I see her. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just did parent-teacher interviews, and she's super little smart egg. So very, very cute.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done. And so how are you? So you've done a couple of music videos in the last couple of years. Are there any is there any one particular one that you really sticks out in your memory as a great experience?
Oh, look, all music videos are a journey. You've got your good points, you've got your bad points, you've got your creative points, you've got your technical points. And obviously each music video or each project, they give you something to take away with for the next one, and you learn so much. So the one that I recently did, I watched it recently and I'm like, yeah, it's really cool and colourful, and because the artist said I could go really conceptual with it. So that was quite cool. And, and some other artists, they don't want it to be so conceptualised. They don't want it colourful, and that's fine.
Or sometimes you're just doing headshots for a corporation, that sort of stuff too, yeah?
Yeah, and that's bread and butter jobs or events or, but I'm paid to make people look good. So.
Yeah. It's a good business. It's a good way to do things.
Oh, I love it. I love what I do. You meet so many cool people. You do so many different things. Everything's different. I guess before you go to a job, you've got to mentally tick that you've got all your gear ready. Oh. Do I have this? Do I have enough batteries? Will it be okay? Will I get the shot? Oh my God, just say this happens. And then you get that bit of, adrenaline. And then as soon as the camera is on me, all that fear goes away and I'm just like, nah, work.
That's good.
And I just focus and it's like I'm living in that moment because I have to be, because I'm looking for the moments to capture.
A lot of people call that a flow state. I quite like being in the flow state where it's like, yeah, you're sort of operating on instinct, and it's like when I'm on stage, it'll be like, oh yeah, what if I try this chord instead of this, or sing this note instead of that one? And from what you are describing when you're holding the camera, it's much the same. It's like you think, oh yeah, what if I shot this angle from this position? And you sort of go on autopilot, but in a really creative way.
Yeah, because you're like, okay, I can take photos of this, but oh no, the lighting doesn't work there. And then you're like, okay, what about this angle? I'll get a wide, I'll get a full body. Okay, I'll come over here. So you kind of got to also get a lot of variety out of your shots as well, because you can't just take one photo and go, okay, there you go, and take the same photos. You have to have a variety of stuff. So you go from all different angles. And the thing is, say it's going to be, raining on the day, and then you get all your kit ready for that. And then you turn up and it's full sun. So you've just got to be, mentally ready and prepared for what's going to happen. And it is kind of scary, but it's that adrenaline that, every single job I do, I get nervous. Every single job. And I've been doing this forever, my whole life. So And when I don't have that, I don't think it works as well. So now I make sure I have that before. Oh, sorry. I have that before I go on a job, and then it's like amazing.
I've heard a lot of people, including myself, say that the nerves never go away before the gig, but you get better at handling it. And I think that's true too. I found, for example, here today, right, this podcast almost didn't happen because I was going to go pick you up from Fitzroy and we were going to grab some lunch, and I come out and my car doesn't start. I go and have a look at the side of it, and it's had a hit and run. Someone's run into it from the street while must have been reverse parking or something like that. And so, I've got all, in much the same way that you've got to have a collection of gear to get your job done. When I do this podcast, I've got lights, I've got microphones, and it would only take forgetting one cable or one power supply or one tripod for the podcast not to happen, right? And so, my nerves as we were getting here, like finally, the RACV came and it was just a dead battery. We were able to get the car going again. I mean, it still looks like shit. Like it's going to take some time for me to figure out the panels, right? But it still goes, right? But when I was here, I was like setting up all the different bits and pieces, making sure all the cameras and the mics work. And then, as I was saying, as we were sitting down here and everything was good to go, right, I was like, oh, bloody hell, I could fall asleep now.
Yeah, exactly.
But once the cameras were rolling, once we did the countdown and, we said welcome, it's like, oh, yeah, here it is. We're just here. It's just in the flow state. So, yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think a lot of creative people would agree that, yeah, once you are there in the moment, all the nerves, everything else just falls away.
Yeah, because all you have is your experience and you just have to go. It's kind of like instinctuous. Is that a word? Yeah.
Instinctual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you just have to get into that headspace of like, okay, I don't have that lens. I've got to work with what I've got and I've got to do the best job I can do, and I can do this. So you've just got to go. And I think, you've got to mentally just be prepared for just all those scenarios.
Absolutely. And I think it comes down to, I think I've said this many times on the podcast, right? The master, there's a saying that the master has failed more times than the student has tried, right? And so you and I, going about our things, right? Mistakes always happen. Like you do get better at avoiding them as you get older and more experienced, right? But you also learn how to recover from them as well. Like, if you've forgotten that lens or if you've forgotten that light, you'll be like, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll do the shoot a little bit closer to a window where there's some natural light or something like that as well. And that's one of the nice things of not getting younger, getting a bit older.
Oh, no, I'm 22.
And so, yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's one of the things that, I think you and I have both experienced at the same time, as both of our careers have developed as we get older. We have learnt some things.
Oh, my God. The stuff that I've learned, the amount of times my ego gets burnt to the ground and stepped on and my heart crushed, but I'm still here because I love what I do. And I learn so much. So like every project I do, every shoot I do, I learn something, whether it's the lighting, whether it's communicating with the client, whether it's, a budget or, this technical thing that I didn't know about it. Like you're always learning. And it's just like each job you get, it's like a little adventure or a little journey. And you always come out of it with like a story and something you learn. And the amount of times I've called you crying of oh my God, what should I do? Why? But it's like, you're the boss, you've got to sort it out. And then all of a sudden, like, it's like you have your little pity party and then you got to just pull your head in and go, okay, cool. I've cried about it now. Now I've just got to sort it out because, that's my job.
Well, because you produce these videos as much as you film them.
Oh, I don't film them. I direct them, do the concept. I like directing music videos. I think they're a lot of fun.
Oh, so someone else is behind the camera for those ones you put out recently?
Yeah, just it's too much to do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's too much to do, direct, film, produce, set design, getting the costumes together, organizing everything. Like it's too much. So I get people that are better than me at filming. And plus I love working with like a team because, you get the energy from them and they understand you and your vision and they help create, this amazing masterpiece. So, yeah, and you can't do everything because if you do everything, it's a bit sloppy. Do you know what I mean?
It's too much as well. I find it burns you out.
It's too much pressure. Like before, I guess I do a shoot like a big music video, but on the day before the shoot, like I've got to mentally get my mind ready of like, okay, do I have the confidence? Am I doing this right? Have I organised the crew? Is my shot list right? Does the story make sense? Like there's even more checklists than there is with photography. So it's quite overwhelming at times and it is really stressful. And I remember, the last music video I did, I was on set and I think because it was such like adrenaline for like months and months, I got to like this lull where I was just like, oh my God, I have no energy. But I had to find that energy. And I find if you eat nuts,
Yes.
that helps you sustain that energy. But, on film days, they're like, 10, 15-hour days. So it's just, I guess, that build-up of adrenaline. And then when it was like, oh, my God, this is actually happening. This looks amazing. You kind of just get overwhelmed and it's quite full on and then you put the pressure on yourself. But then, you look at the end project and it's awesome and you go, look, that's what I created at that time and, what's the next one? It's always what's the next because that's what drives me. I need that purpose.
So what is next? What is next? What have you? So we've got the Charlie book.
We've got the book, yep.
Any other projects you can talk about yet, or are they still under wraps?
I'll be doing a documentary soon, but that's sort of under wraps because I haven't really figured out what I'm doing for that yet.
It's not your first documentary though, is it?
No, it's my second documentary. My first documentary was on rats.
Rat Ribbons?
Yep, called Rat Ribbons, and it was based on show rats. So they're like rat shows. They're like dog shows, but with rats. So you've got your different markings on the rats. The tail has to measure up to the top of the head. The ears have to be a certain length. Like these are proper competitive rat shows. And so I did a documentary on that, and that was just awesome because I went into the history of the fancy rat. So that's what rats are called that you show. They're called fancy rats.
Fancy rat, yeah.
So I went into the history of the fancy rat, and I remember up in Sydney, I shot at this place called the Old Sydney Town, which is now, I think, this abandoned film set. I mean, I don't know if it's still there, but, it's just like each project you go to these amazing places. And it's fascinating. Really.
And that is online now, isn't it? Because I remember you sent me a DVD to, I think to extract it and put it online. I can't remember.
I've got to put it online. It used to be online, but then I took it off, and then now I've got to put it back on. So that's on my things to do list.
I think you'd find an audience for it. I think especially, if you could make little clips, like the little 1-minute clips that people see on TikTok and that sort of stuff, I reckon you'd get a lot of people looking at that.
Oh, yeah. It's just, I just got to do it. So I finished that in 2004.
Wow. Yeah.
No, or maybe I started it in 2004. No, I started it in 2004 and I finished in 2006 because after I finished it, I went to the UK and I lived there for about 3 years. Yeah.
All before YouTube, all before the streaming era, wasn't it? Where, you had to make the DVDs and, if you wanted people to see it, you had to give them the actual disc, didn't you?
It was really cool. And, I remember I did a screening in Sydney and Melbourne and, I invited all my friends and that was just awesome. And like at the end of it, you're like, here's the DVD. And I, printed it up. It looked really pretty. I put some behind the scenes from the, I guess, project. So, that was a fun little thing. But now I want to do my documentary, I guess, on veganism.
Because that's something you're very passionate about.
Yes, very passionate about veganism. So I've been a vegetarian for 23 years and then vegan for 5. So I haven't eaten meat for like 28 years and I'm still here, but I'm 22.
Well, you actually inspired me to become a vegetarian, I think, a few years after I met you, because it's a funny story for the people at home. I think you and an ex-boyfriend and myself and our friend Ben might have all been off to... We had someone had heard about a rave out in a warehouse near the airport or something like that.
Oh, in Sydney.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And we had to go from like phone booth to phone booth getting directions. And then we get to this abandoned warehouse where half the floorboards are missing, but there's this huge projection and... Oh, it was Marissa we were with. Yeah. And there were these huge projections and, I'm sitting down, chilling out, like listening to the music, and someone goes by and says, "Hey, do you want some acid?" And I'm like, "Never had it before. Let's try it." And anyway, I end up taking it and I have a great time at the party. But on the way home, we went to that 24-hour bakery. I don't know where it is. Is it still there in Sydney?
Yeah, it is.
And you got a vegetarian pasty and I got a meat pie. And so I'm sitting there chowing down on this meat pie while I'm tripping on acid.
Oh, my God.
And I had a bit of gristle, like I had a bit of like cartilage or something. And I'm like, oh, my God, this was an animal. And then for the rest of the night, I'm just in this crazy headspace. I literally saw this this field with every animal that I'd ever eaten in it. And I'm seeing like
Oh, my God.
thousands of chickens,
I couldn't
hundreds
imagine.
of cows, all these pigs. And they're all looking at me in the eye going, "Yep, was it worth it?" And from there, that's when I decided, yep, I've got to become a vegetarian. And so, yeah, it was an experience with you that led to me becoming a vegetarian. And I think I sort of repaid that in turn because I think I'd gone vegan before you had, ever so slightly.
Yeah, you went vegan before me, but I went vegan when I was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So, and that was interesting.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, like I'm still not 100% vegan. Every now and again, if there's a cheese platter and a couple of glasses of wine, like a bit of feta sometimes. But for the most part, I lead a vegetarian diet.
That's awesome. But yeah, I love it. It was the best thing I've ever done with my health. I guess I know more about my health because obviously if you're not getting your nutrients from that, I get my nutrients from this. But I'm finding health quite interesting. It's kind of like, I guess, my hobby in a way because, obviously I've got my creative and my business and I guess that's who I am. But now I've got this like other element of, I'm just doing an aromatherapy course at the moment and I'm finding it fascinating like how, we could cure so many things with essential oils and we just don't even know. Like we're losing all that, information. And it's been quite mind-blowing and I think it's fascinating. So I'm kind of really excited about that. Look, maybe my next doco could be on that. Who knows? Like I've just got to finish this book, launch it, and then after that, it's it's whatever. So I'm super excited. Life is awesome, and I'm so excited that I'm here with you.
That's great. Well, look, it's been really good to have you on. We'll wrap it up here. What we'll do is, if people want to find you on the intertubes, I think how do we find you? If we want to keep a track on all your projects, what's the best way to find you?
Instagram. I'm on Instagram all the time.
What's your Instagram name?
Just Chrissie Hall.
Yeah.
So ChrissieHall. And I've got I think a red shirt and I'm going...
Yes.
That or something like that on the photo.
Yep. Do you have a YouTube as well, or have we got to set that up?
Oh, I've got a YouTube, but I've got to change the name, and it's just. I think I've got like 3 videos on there with hardly any views. But yeah, it's kind of like one thing at a time. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we'll see if we can get your YouTube going and Rat Ribbons going as well by the time this podcast is out. So that could be kind of good.
That would be awesome, actually. So then all you guys can check it out and see how mad I am.
If the dress didn't give it away.
I love this dress. It's my power dress.
It is a power dress.
It's a new dress. And every time I wear it, I feel fabulous. So
those are the best kind of dresses.
I'll tell you what's really cute before we wrap it up. So my little 2.5-year-old Zali, it's so cute. She loves wearing her costumes. So I'm doing a series with my girls where we're all kind of dressed in the same theme, and I've been doing that since my first one. Alaska's been, 2 months old. So they're quite painful, but they're quite amazing doing the series. Anyway, so we have all these like costumes, and so now Zali likes to wear her little poodle costume. And she's like, "Mummy, I'm a fashion girl." it's like, oh, you're so cute. And then she puts on her red sparkly shoes, her party shoes, and she gets her bag. Going to work, mummy. I'm a fashion girl. And it's like, oh, you're so cute. Anyway.
Well, when the agencies come knocking, she knows someone who can do some headshots at least.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, she could be the next fashion designer. Who knows?
We will watch her career with great interest.
Yes. But thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for getting it on. It's great. It's great because, as I said, you've been someone I've wanted on the podcast ever since it started. So it's fantastic to actually get you on.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it actually happened.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't going to happen at one point.
Yes, car issues. Ah, dear.
Anyway.
All right, too easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.